It started as a harmless prank, or at least that's what I convinced myself. The morning had been full of laughter and petty frustrations, and my friends and I had hatched the perfect little joke. My husband, Jeremy, had spent the entire week being insufferable. From his relentless teasing about my cooking to leaving the bathroom floor soaked after his quick shower, he had been driving me to the edge of patience. So, when my closest friends suggested a harmless, miles away from home, trick, I laughed and agreed. Surely, it would be funny, harmless, and Jeremy would find it amusing in retrospect. We planned it meticulously, or so we thought. That Saturday, we picked him up under the pretense of a casual coffee outing. The sky was unusually bright, almost mocking our intentions with its cheerfulness. As we drove, we chatted and laughed, keeping Jeremy oblivious to the little detour we were taking. Eventually, we reached a small, almost forgotten town miles from our home. The streets were quiet, and the air smelled faintly of pine and freshly baked bread. Perfect. All right, Jeremy, I said, feigning nonchalance, we're just going to stretch our legs for a bit. Take a walk. Enjoy the scenery. He blinked at us, confused but trusting. We gave him a quick, insincere wave and drove off, giggling as the car disappeared around the bend. At first, the joke felt perfect, like something out of a sitcom. But then, reality started to seep in. The streets were too quiet, the town too empty. A nagging sense of guilt crept into me. Jeremy wandered for hours. My friends and I were initially too busy laughing to worry, but as the sun began to dip below the horizon, a deep unease settled in. Calls went unanswered, texts bounced back, my stomach tightened with each passing minute. The joke, once funny, had morphed into something far darker. I drove back to the town, panic rising with each mile. The streets were deserted, shops were closing, shadows stretched long and sinister, and the once cheerful air now felt heavy, almost accusatory. I called out his name, my voice shaking. No answer. My friends fidgeted nervously in the backseat, realizing perhaps we had taken things too far. And then, finally, we saw him. Jeremy was walking along the sidewalk, shoulders slumped, face pale, but alive. Relief hit me in waves, almost knocking me off my feet. But what I saw next made me freeze. He wasn't angry. He wasn't yelling. He was carrying a small bundle wrapped in a frayed blanket. I rushed to him. Jeremy, oh my God, are you okay? He looked at me, his eyes reflecting a strange mixture of exhaustion and serenity. I'm fine, he said softly. Actually, I'm more than fine. I frowned. What do you mean? He held out the blanket. Inside was a small, shivering puppy with matted fur and eyes full of trust. Jeremy had found it in a ditch, abandoned, cold, and trembling. He hadn't just survived being left alone, he had discovered someone else in desperate need of help. My friends and I were stunned into silence. Jeremy, my stupid husband, as we jokingly called him, had turned a cruel prank into an act of kindness. He had walked miles, searched tirelessly, and instead of focusing on our joke or his own discomfort, he had saved a life. I felt a lump in my throat. Here I was, worried about a prank, and Jeremy was teaching me something I'd never forget. Humanity isn't measured by how we react when life is easy. It's measured by how we respond when things go wrong, how we show compassion when we ourselves are hurt or frustrated. We drove home in silence, the little puppy nestled between us, Jeremy holding it like a sacred treasure. My mind replayed the morning over and over. What had begun as selfish amusement had become a moment of profound revelation. I looked at Jeremy differently that day, not just as my husband, but as a man with a heart bigger than I had ever acknowledged. Over the next few weeks, our lives shifted subtly but powerfully. The puppy, whom we named Hope, became a symbol of everything Jeremy had shown me: resilience, kindness, and the ability to transform a negative moment into something meaningful. My friends, who had orchestrated the prank, apologized profusely, but Jeremy brushed it off with that quiet smile that always made me melt. It's okay, he said. Sometimes life surprises you in the strangest ways. It wasn't just the puppy. Jeremy's actions rippled through our community. Inspired by his compassion, neighbors and friends began volunteering at shelters, helping stray animals, and checking in on those who might otherwise be overlooked. A single act of selflessness sparked a chain reaction far beyond what any of us could have imagined. I realized something profound. Life doesn't need grand gestures to create change. Often, it's the small, quiet decisions, made when no one is watching, that define who we are. Jeremy could have been bitter, frustrated, or resentful. Instead, he chose empathy. And in doing so, he transformed the entire narrative of our lives. Months later, sitting on our porch with hope curled up between us, I thought back to that fateful day. The joke we had intended to play seemed almost trivial now, a distant memory overshadowed by something far more important. I leaned into Jeremy, feeling the warmth of his hand in mine. "I think I underestimated you," I admitted, my voice trembling with emotion. He chuckled softly. "Or maybe you just needed a little reminder. And that's the beauty of it. Life has a way of teaching us lessons when we least expect it, often through the people we think we know best." Jeremy reminded me that even in moments of irritation, frustration, or anger, there is room for kindness, room for courage, and room for compassion. All it takes is the choice to act with love, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable. We never joked about leaving him miles away again. But in some strange way, that day became one of the most important days of our lives. It taught me that true character isn't revealed when life is easy, it's revealed when we're tested. And Jeremy, my stupid husband, as we still teased him, had passed the test with flying colors. In the end, the prank that could have broken us only made us stronger. It reminded me that love isn't just about laughter or shared hobbies or quiet evenings on the porch, it's about choosing to act with generosity, even when it's unexpected. It's about seeing opportunity for good, even in the midst of chaos. And sometimes, it's about a little puppy named Hope, who reminded us that even in the darkest moments, there is light waiting to be found. We learned, together, that life's most profound lessons often come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. And for that, I will always be grateful.